Hi, welcome to Talking Burma. Talking Burma is a podcast series by the Burma Canadian Association of Ontario. My name is Napas and I'll be your host for today's first episode. So Burma is this special diverse country in Southeast Asia with over 54 million individuals. Its history is full of stories of colonialism, war, conflict, dictatorships, and oppression, but it's also a history of people pursuing justice, freedom, peace, and human rights. Burmese people are located all around the world, including in Canada, which is where the BCAO is located, which has a population of around 17,000 people. Talking Burma was initiated by the Burmese Canadian community to explore the amazing lives, stories, and work of people who are from Burma. So welcome to the BCAO's first ever episode of Talking Burma. Talking Burma was initiated by the Burmese Canadian community to explore the amazing lives, stories, and work of people who are from Burma. Stories from Burma as a whole are generally untold, so we're looking to change that narrative and bring these stories to the forefront. Today, we're lucky to have a very special guest joining us. Saw Mie Tha Lah, or Mie Tha for short, is from the Karen ethnic group in Burma. Karen people are a very diverse group of people located primarily in South and Southeast Burma, also known as Cayenne State. Saw Mie Tha Lah was born in Burma and was forced to become a refugee in Thailand at just 17 years old. In 2007, he fortunately got the chance to come to Canada and has been since deeply involved in the Karen and wider Burmese community. Today, he works as a welfare worker, settlement worker, and perhaps the only licensed Karen and Burmese interpreter in all of Canada. Saw Mie Tha Lah's story is one that presents what life was like under the military dictatorship of pre-democracy Myanmar. His story is one of family tragedy, but also of renewal, of loss, of hope, and of the pursuit of a better life and better world. So, without further ado, please welcome Saw Mie Tha Lah.
Thank you for having me here, Napas.
Why don't you start us off by telling us about your early life in Burma?
Yes, I was born in Rangoon in 1976 because both my parents were civil servants then and working for the government of, at the time they called Ne Win government, BSPP, Burmese Socialist People's Party, this kind of thing. And as a Karen ethnic nationalities. And my father was mining engineer and my mom was an accountant, and they had been serving the country for more than 30 years in their life. And the procedure or protocol of the Ne Win government at the time was they did not want people to form community. I grew up witnessing they moved their soldiers from one place to another every 6 months. And as my father was a mining engineer, and then both my parents were assigned to work in a mining area, which is in the jungle, where there is a mining project and everything. And they move all the civil servants or government worker from one place to another every 3 years. So the upside of this one, I was well exposed to different community as a young kid. And then through my teenage years, following my parents wherever they went. And the downside of this were wherever I lived in Burma, I never felt at home at all because I was moved to one place and then we formed a community. We got to know each other. We had friends. We started to have a very close relationship with one another. And all of a sudden, my family was moved to another place. So this is the downside. We have never felt at home. And also, many of probably people from my generation knew that it was a closed door society, that genuinely closed door of Burma from the international community. So we did not grow up seeing all these kind of international enterprises, a company in Burma at all. Wherever we go, the good side of this, whatever we had, it's all local products. So this is a good side. No globalization in Burma. But on the other hand, it's also, and when it's come to the information and technology, education opportunity, and quality of life, healthcare, social welfare, they were extremely, extremely limited. Yes. And I also remember also one of the mechanisms to control the people is to infuse their military intelligence fears among the people that we don't trust each other. Even we were working together. When I was in high school, in grade 10, my mom had to sign a petition saying that my son is not going to talk politics in the school. Otherwise, he would be expelled. This is the way. So I could not trust my best friend. Even we sat together in the school for day after day, months after month for the whole year. And he also did not trust me. And this was the sad part. Anyway, something huge happened. People Power Revolution in August 888. We call it Historical Day of 8888, led by the university school students and younger students. And then millions of civilians joined. They came in the street and then they demanded for democracy and also the end of the one-party rule, BSPP. However, and unfortunately, people's power were crushed. So at the time, both my parents, I have one older brother and two younger sisters, they are twins, the lovely ones. We were assigned, my parents were assigned to work in the southern part of Burma, in Taninzari division, in Hazen mining area. And then during that time, my father also went on a stage and shared just simply about two topics, the essence of democracy and freedom of speech. And because of this act, so he did not do anything wrong in his workplace. He did not have any mistake in his performance as a mining engineer. But however, the government punished him by separating my mom and dad. So the government moved my dad alone to Karenni State, to the eastern part of Burma, and my mom and four children were left in Taninzari division. It was heartbreaking. However, it was happening in June 1989. And my mom was thinking that we are in the middle of the school year during the summer break in March. And the following year, my mom would go to the headquarters in Rangoon and plead with the authority to put the family back together. Yes, it was the plans of my mom, but something unexpected happened in November 1989 in Mochi mining area, where my father was working, and he was kidnapped by the resistance group. Yeah, Karenni revolutionist group. And then the kidnapping took place not because of they wanted to ask for a ransom or nothing like that. They were desperately in need of the educated people in the Karenni refugee camp in Thailand. So they kidnapped my father and then took him across the border secretly and then brought him to the refugee camp and assigned him to be a school principal. And that was it. We got this news of kidnap 8 days later after he was kidnapped. And then we thought that they would kill my father of being a Karen ethnic and working for the Burmese government. Actually, it was not like that. So we also did not know if he was alive or not. But the situation in Burma also, when you belong to ethnic resistant group, or if you're in the refugee camp at the time, you automatically belong to the enemy of the state. That means the government did not trust you anymore, so that we could not have any communication at all. But also, we also had no idea what was going on with him. It was heartbreaking, but at the time, we did not know that it was such a blessing in disguise to our family that we discovered it for the years to come. And then one blow after another, for my mother, after serving faithfully for this government for more than 30 years as accountant officer, when my father was kidnapped, then she was called to come to the headquarters in Rangoon, and she was interrogated by the military intelligence. And my mom honestly said that I had no idea about this kidnap. I don't think my husband went there intentionally because the wife is here, 4 younger children are here. However, I don't know if they trusted my mom or not, but 2 months after this interrogation, they could not find any fault of my mom in her workplace. However, they forced my mom to resign from her post, and it was another blow. So as a mother with 4 children, no husband, all of a sudden she became careerless. And then she just brought 4 of us back to Rangoon. We had to leave the mining area because we did not have housing anymore because she did not work for the government anymore. At that time, we went on with our lives through the support of the relatives from both my mom and dad, their siblings, even though they were not that well off. Through love, they just chip in their money. day after day unto the unknown future. So we even do not know what would happen every month, and we moved on. And we do feel and discern their love and support up to this day. And we are so grateful for that. Anyway, life moved on. And then 2.5 years after my father was kidnapped sometime in 1992, we received a special visitor, a white Caucasian woman. We never learned her name, came to our house, and she tried to talk with us. She tried to say, talk to my mom. It was so awkward. We did not understand much English. We did not speak English. Many people in the neighborhood were watching at her. And then she said, trying to talk to my mom, do you know, I met your husband in the refugee camp and he is okay. He is a school principal. It was so awkward. She wanted to talk, but after 10 minutes, she just left an envelope in the hand of my mom and she left. And we never learned that she was the British ambassador. And then coming to Rangoon to work as an ambassador. And then before she came to Rangoon, and then she visited different refugee camp along Thai Burma border. And then when she met my father and learning that the family was there, and then she said, okay, now I'm going to go to Rangoon. You know what? Just go and stand in front of your school office. And she was the one who took my father's picture and then told my father to write a note. I will be the one to deliver that note to your family because I'm a diplomat. And yeah, Burmese authority won't confiscate everything from me. She kept her promise and she delivered the envelope. And when my mom opens the envelope, we saw the photo of my father in the refugee camp proudly standing in front of his school. And then with a note saying that, you know what, I've been praying every day and I'm now serving as a school principal in the Karenni refugee camp. One day we are going to be together. I will do my very best, whatever power that I have here in the camp. And because of that, we knew that my father was alive. And after we read the letter, saw the picture, I saw that, my brother saw it, my mom saw it, my grandmother saw it, my two younger sisters did not see it. My mom had to burn both picture and letter to get rid of the evidences in case the MI will show up in our house. And then, look for this one. And then I remember from that point on, my mom never cried in front of us since the kidnaps of my father. However, she secretly cried night after night. And my little sister overheard it because she did not want to show her sorrow before the children. And one morning, from that point on, right after we read the letter and saw the picture of my father, my mom said that, son, when the morning comes, we are a day closer to your dad. Oh, I was so happy and it was so hopeful. So just life moved on for year after year. And 2 years after we received a British ambassador in our home in Rangoon, we received another stranger, a young man. And he was a captain in the, I don't know what department from Karenni National, KNPP, Karenni National Progressive Party, came to our family through the arrangement of the KNPP leaders, and we were so thankful for that. And he had Burmese ID somehow, and he used to study in Rangoon, so he knew how to go around Rangoon. Therefore, he was specially selected by the resistance group to come and then, take us to the liberated area. And then he came with a letter saying that, letter from my father and his signature, trust him, leave everything, just follow him. And this is probably the only chance that we are going to be together as a family. We could not even tell our relatives, the siblings of my mom and dad, who had been supported us for years, that we are going to escape from Burma. On the fateful day of March the 2nd, 1994, we followed that gentleman, secretly took us to the bus to Loikaw, Karenni State. From Loikaw, we did not see him anymore. He disappeared. Another representatives from KNPP escorted my siblings and my mom to another smaller villages, and they call it Tipoklo. From Tipoklo again the following day, Dopyaku, and from Dopyaku, the first time I met fully guarded Karenni resistant guerrillas all my life, I was brainwashed that the guerrilla, they are the rebels, they are the insurgents, they are barbarians, they will kill you and eat you. But totally opposite. When I met them, the guerrilla was so kind. They have very strong accent, of course. And I was so intimidated by them, looking at them with long hair, fully armed. At the same time, also, they were intimidated by my family, knowing that we came from the big city or something like that. It was so funny and awkward. Anyway, the guerrilla, this group, through the special arrangement of the KNPP, they escorted my mom, me and my siblings for 3 nights and 4 days through the jungle and then toward the Selwyn River and then to the border and then to the refugee camp. And it was quite an adventure. I was young. I was only at the time 16, 17 years old. My brother was about 17, 18. We are just a year apart. My little sisters were 14. We were okay as kids, but my mom had never had this kind of experience before. Even the path was just like a very narrow path. There is a wall right beside you, and then to the other side was a ravine. It's never ending. You don't even see the bottom. So scary. And once, at one point, I overheard my mom talking to the leader of this troop. We call it Captain Antu. She said, you know, Captain, if ever I die on the way, she also started to feel ill. Just throw my body there in the chasm, in the ravine, and then make sure you take my children safely to their father. I was so sad by hearing that. It was, but Captain also was so patient, and then for due respect, he called my mom Auntie. Do you know, Auntie, don't worry. It will only take 25 minutes to go to reach to the Selwyn River. As soon as we are in Selwyn River, then you don't have to walk anymore. And literally, his 25 minutes took us 2.5 days. Literally. Anyway, somehow miraculously, when we reached to the Selwyn River, then my mom survived. And then they took us with a long tail boat, and then we go through against the tide for a few hours. When we reached to the refugee camp in 1994, March somewhere in the 7th, the first time in 5 years, I saw my father, and he was overjoyed. We were all overjoyed, and he even did not recognize my 2 younger sisters anymore, for they had grown up a lot. And it was the reunion of our family in 1994 in Karenni refugee camp.
What was it like meeting your father after not seeing him for decades at this point?
Yeah, well, my first memory, as soon as we came out from that 4-wheel pickup truck arranged by KNPP, then my father just came and then shouted in Karen, "Oh, my family is here, my family is here." And then he came straight to my mom and kissed her on the cheek.
Wow.
And then he hugged us, each and every one of us, and he also started to kiss her. We kissed him. Because it was also very awkward, and it was totally in a new environment in the refugee camp, right? It is no electricity, no indoor water, being with nature. All the houses are made of bamboo and wood with thatched roofs. Yeah, I did not even remember. But after that evening, we talked a lot. My father and then many neighbors also visiting us, knowing that, oh, their principal's family is here, all the children, they are overjoyed. And then they came and talked with us, brought in food and some fruits and this kind of things. So we talked a lot about the refugees, about the history of the Karenni resistance, how all the ethnic, the armed groups are working together at the time. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, and within a few days, we learned a lot about the way of life of the refugee camp and the way they have to survive, the duties that they play in the camp.
So what was life like in Thailand as a refugee?
When I first came to the refugee camp I just finished my high school in Burma. So I was teenager. So 17 years old, young man. And then the first thing I learned about the camp was everything and everyone was being with nature. So, and then unfortunately also, we are very thankful to Thai government for giving us a place in the middle of the jungle, which is 6 kilometers away from Thai Burma border, to have kind of secured place inside their land as refugees. But they did not sign in UN Convention, in the Agreement of Refugee or something like that. So they did not recognize us as refugees. So we are all from like temporarily displaced people from Burma. So we are just temporary there. So therefore, in the refugee camp, you cannot have any signs of permanence. So you cannot build a building made out of brick or wood or something like that, just bamboo and a thin wood and then thatcher sleep. And we have to rebuild our house every summer, every year, temporary. So, and then we are all literally fans. And then we have, at the time, we have even now until 9 different refugee camps. And the smallest camp had 2,000 refugees, and the biggest camp called Karen Mela refugee camp had 46,000 refugees. So it varies. So we were literally fenced. And then as refugees, you are not allowed to leave the camp. And when you leave the camp, then you can be arrested by Thai authority and then deported back to Burma. And when you are deported back to Burma, then you could be persecuted easily if they know that you have political affiliation with the ethnic armed group. So we were literally placed under area arrest for year after year after year. And the dreams of the refugee was, as soon as we became refugee, we thought that we are going to be here only for a year or two. And when the political situation in Burma became okay, then we will go back home and rebuild our lives from the scratch. Unfortunately, it did not happen practically until now. This is the heartbreak. Yeah, and then the situation of the camp was we are all, like I said, the area arrest, being with nature. And then sometime also with this, we are, for example, many of, I could say your generation, they were born there and they grew up there. So their horizon daily was just the camp, river, mountain, trees, and trying to survive day after day. It's a big, well-organized community. And along the way, of course, people say that how did you survive in the middle of the jungle? Of course, we call it a mana through the international aids. So from EU, US aid, Australian, even Canadian aids, right? The European aids, they all come together and they support all the refugees there with our daily basic needs, like rice or charcoal, oil, chili, salt, beans, and eggs, something like that. So we are provided with daily needs. When it comes to food for the source of protein, then you can raise your own animals at home. So unfortunately, I cannot use my screen share. Otherwise, I can show you a lot of pictures about the refugees' life in the future. I can do it, this kind of thing. At the same time, also, the international NGOs, they come and work in the refugee camp. They station themselves, their offices in Thai City, very close to the refugee camp, and they come to the camp every day and they trained us how to run camp administration systematically, how to run the refugee camp primary health care system, and then education system, and then sanitation system, this kind of thing. We were systematically trained by the NGOs, and then we became, even though we did not have any diploma, degree from higher education institutions, the refugees became a well-trained, and then all these well-trained individuals serve the community back, and they are provided with a small amount of money every month. I was working as a teacher for many years in the camp. I remember I was given about 50 Canadian dollars per month was my salary. Yeah, something like that. But it is just the incentive because all the basic needs is provided anyway. And plus also we have the NGOs not only coming into the camp and then empower us and train us, they also teach us, they run the system as well. They run the education system. They had to get permission from Thai authority. They operate the school. They train us, and then they utilize the skills of the individual. We work hand in hand together and run in all these systems. So this was the way it went in the refugee camp. So it just moved on. And of course, this is the good thing. So also as a refugee, also because of this way of life, also we became very closely knitted community. We have a course. That course is to fight for the liberation of ourselves and the people wanted to go back home and rebuild your lives from the scratch. It is an ultimate goal. And before this happened, as we are fighting, at the same time being a refugee, also whatever education and work experience that we get through the empowerment from the international aid, then we equipped ourselves and then serve community together, live together harmoniously, help each other. Yeah, and then life moved on until now. It's been for more than 4 decades already, and this is the way the refugee camps is going on.
So I think you stayed as a refugee not forever, but for a certain amount of time, and then you ended up leaving at some point. Is that right?
So as a refugee, I was there for 13 years, right? And then somewhere in the time in 1999, which meant 5 years after I became a refugee, along the way, as I mentioned before, we have been empowered by different groups of people, individual organizations. At one point, we have a university professor from the Philippines, Dr. Macario Chu, and then he is a highly reputable, well-known author in the country, a highly respected professor in Ateneo de Davao University. He came and gave leadership course, a short course, 3 weeks to the refugee. He was so in love with the refugee society. And then he wanted to help. And then before he left, knowing our situation, being unregistered, temporarily displaced people, he said that if ever you have a capable youth who have scholarship, international scholarship opportunity, you can send him or her or whoever to the school where I'm working right now. I know their situation and I can cover for their safety and security. It was a promise as he talked to the Karenni leaders. And then he went, and then just less than a year later, Christine Hein, originally from Toronto, and then at the time she was working as an international teacher in Japan together with another Welsh teacher from Joanna Robinson. These two happened to come to the refugee camp as tourists during their school break in Japan. And then when they saw the refugees, and they were amazed with these refugees amidst all these trials and errors and limitations in life, the hope that they have with them and the potential that they saw in these refugee youth. And then they went back to Japan and they started to form a foundation to support the refugee scholarship program or something like that. And then when they had sufficient funds, they came back to the Karenni camp and talked to our leader and said that we want to sponsor a refugee, the first Karenni refugee to go out from the camp. When then initially they said that they want to send him or her to London through the connection of Joanna Robinson from Wales. But finally, because of Dr. Macario, they said that, okay, now we have a professor from the Philippines. He's open to receive us. And okay, it will also cost efficient, right? The tuition fee, everything would be more than half. And then in this case, then we can even sponsor full scholarship for 4 years for a degree. And then they come, and then so many youth were applying for it, and then we had to go through different steps. And in the end, I was the one who was selected by the KNPP to go to study in the Philippines to get education and come back and serve in the education development area in the refugee camp. And then finally, yes, and then I was selected. Of course, the thing that where am I going to get the passport? I'm never ashamed to admit that you don't have Burmese passport because your own country disowned you, right? And then you're a refugee. You could not have Thai passport because we could not assimilate or integrate into Thai society. But against all odds, through the support of the sponsors, and then through the also hope and support of the resistant leaders, KNPP leaders, even including KNU leaders, and through the support and understanding of the local Thai authority, they were against the international law. They were able to secure a counterfeit Burmese passport for me to hold this one, and then to go all the way to the Philippines to study in Ateneo University under the cover wing of the Dr. Macario Chu. And I sat in the university for 4 years. The thing that I could not even have a degree, I could not even have the transcript of record because of my status, because as a foreign student, if I'm officially enrolled to the school, they have to let the Burmese embassy know that, hey, we have your guy here. So, and then they cannot do that. When they do it, then the Burmese embassy will check on my record, and there is no Mie Tha Lah in the record, right? So if they knew that I'm holding this kind of passport, then they would deport me back to Burma right away. I could not enroll through the coverage or the protection of Dr. Macario Chu and the school president himself. They kept, of course, I had to go through all the studies. I had to pass the test. My sponsor had to pay the tuition fee, everything, and had to go through everything as a regular student went through. And then after 4 years, nobody knew my secret in the Philippines except Dr. Macario Chu. And then when I was in my third year, my best friend and my classroom president, I call her Jocelyn Lesheda, I opened up my secret to her because I stayed there as with tourist visa since I could not get the student visa. And I had to extend my tourist visa every 2 months. And every year I had to leave Philippines to get another tourist entry visa. This is the way I had to go to Malaysia. I had to come back to Thailand as tourist. Psychologically very depressing, actually. But anyway, and then therefore in the end also I could not even graduate because I was not in their list. But the school dean and the administrator allowed me, do you know, Mita, go ahead and then we'll let you march. We will shout out your name. You deserve it. But unfortunately, we cannot give you any credential because of the way it is. I say it's fine. And then the good thing that therefore, when people ask me, technically, I don't have any degree. The only thing that people ask me, do you finish the school? That's the only thing that I can show them the yearbook, because the yearbook has nothing to do with the Filipino government and then the student, right? It's between the school and the student. So they put my face in the yearbook. I'm very happy and grateful about that. So therefore, I say that after 4 years of studying in the Philippines, I did not have a degree. I did not have a diploma, no transcript or record. The only substantial gain I had was I won the heart of my class president, Jocelyn Lechelder, who gradually became my wife in the years to come in the refugee camp. So I graduated from the school. I studied there from 1999 to 2004. I graduated in March 2003. So soon after that, so I proposed before the graduation day, I proposed my girlfriend, I love you. And then she said yes. And then unfortunately, a matter of a few weeks later, we had to say goodbye because I had to go back to the refugee camp as promised. And then as soon as I came back, I had to throw my passport away, got rid of all the evidences that I had in the Philippines for years, and I became the refugee the second time. At that time, of course, with different experience and then with knowledge that I had brought back from the countries that I went to study. Yeah, and then from that point on, also as soon as I came back to the camp in 2003, so what happened was also all the foreign volunteer teachers who came and lived in the camp and taught us, therefore, through their teaching empowerment, we learned English as refugees youth. And Thai authority told them or ordered them to leave the camp. They say that for the safety issue, because a war was going on along the border, it was heartbreak. They had to leave. And then this time, all the expectation was on me and a few other education leaders. They were thinking that I could run the entire education enterprise. But this is the way it is. So the burden was so high. I had to talk to the sponsor. I had to write a proposal. I had to run the school. I had to develop a curriculum. Also at the same time, train the other teachers, trainer. So all of a sudden, I realized, oh, of course, I have my girlfriend. And the good thing that we share the same skin tone. The only thing that if she is permitted to come here, before, when I say that all the foreign teachers were told, ordered to leave, many of them were Caucasian or African American, so they were so obvious among the refugees. They could not hide the way they look. But my girlfriend just looked like the refugee, Korean or people from Burma. So when I talked to her parents and herself, she was so excited to come. She told me that, this is my dream to serve to anyone, those who are living in underprivileged area. It had been my childhood dream. I'm ready to come. And then when she got the blessing of her parents, then I talked to the Open Society Institute, our sponsor. I did not expect that. 2 months later, they gave me green signal. You said, Mita, you know what? Get her. Get your girlfriend and bring her in. Then we cover everything. We pay her airfare. We pay the health insurance, life insurance, and salary. Oh, it was more than I expected. And then just a matter of a year after I left the Philippines, Jocelyn came to the camp. And in the jungle, we served in the education area for 3-4 years until we came to Canada. Yeah, the funny thing in the camp was that it's so funny, and human rights violation also, Thai authority imposed among the refugees that if you are a refugee, you cannot get married to non-refugee, nor to Thai citizen, nor to foreigners. Only refugee could get married to the refugee. It was kind of But it's so funny and human rights violation. But the brave Jocelyn said that where we worship God, are we going to afraid of Thai authority or the creator of the universe, or God? And then if we love each other, so so we are illegal anyway. You are illegal everywhere all your life, in Thailand, in the Philippines. Now I'm in the refugee camp. I'm illegal. So we break law already. For the sake of the love and goodness, we can break law and let get married. I said, if you are that brave, then why not I? And secretly, we got married in the refugee camp. The other funny part is also as a teacher, right? You came back from the Philippines, you were kind of popular in the camp. And then you're highly respected in the camp also. And during the wedding, it's a blast. Every wedding, the whole camp, you don't even need to release the invitation. Just announce it in the camp through the loudspeaker today. But in our case, we cannot do that. We have to secretly, we only could invite a few of our students, and then through the blessing of our parents and our pastor, we had a secret wedding in the jungle. And then we became husband and wife secretly because the Thai authority cannot know that. And the other funny part also, Jocelyn also had to keep in touch with his family and friends in the Philippines. So every month, I had to smuggle her out of the camp with a little scooter to the nearest Thai city called Mae Hong Son in northern Thailand, to go and use email and internet to chat with his friends and teachers and the network in the Philippines and parents. And whenever we are in the city, Jocelyn became legal because she had passport, Filipino passport, but I became illegal outside the camp. And okay, after all the business were done, we came back, snuck in back inside the camp. Then I became legal because I was refugee in the camp. Jocelyn became illegal. So yeah, we had to play this kind of multiple roles. We took some risk with love in heart, but with a huge contentment in heart, in supporting and in working together in education field. Yeah, for a few years until we came to Canada. And it was like full of thrills and romance, joy and pain and anxiety and many, many things.
What was the story of how you came to Canada in the first place?
So we got the international attention, right? And then started with 8 countries: Canada, United States, Australia, New Zealand, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and Finland. Started with these 8 countries, later on joined by Ireland, Netherlands, and then England, yeah, even Israel, Japan, and South Korea. And then they said that, okay, this is the time for us to bring in all the refugees from Burma who got stuck in the refugee camps for decades already. And then they through the facilitation of the United Nations High Commissioner for the Refugee, UNHCR, they introduced a new program to the refugee society that we never heard of called Refugees Resettlement Programs. It means that you are from your birth country, you are in the second country in Thailand, now you are going to the third country. So settlement program, at the beginning, we had no idea what it's all about. And particularly many refugees, they never gone to formal education all their life. Their way of life was just survival of the toughest. They survived war, and then they lost their family and relatives along the way, and then they survived. They are in the refugee camp. Then this is the way it is. And then it was so scary so they became very skeptical. Anyway, gradually, some daring family, I remember the first few family went to Finland and New Zealand, and just a matter of 2 months, they sent a news that how wonderful their life were, how welcoming the society they were. From that point, 1,000 of refugees were lining up whenever country come in with a resettlement program, like Canada come in, that, okay, want to take the 6,000 refugees, UN will come in and interview. Yeah, it was totally new program, and then beyond our wildest dream, right? Let alone going to, and the other fears of the refugees were they had nothing, they had no money, they had no international experience, no language, nothing like that. So they were so worried about the unknown future. What are they going to do? A lot of funny stories going on like that among the refugees some people also try to keep themselves and not to leave. And then, you know what? You are going to the West. They are very smart people. And then you are scrawny and you are so thin and malnourished. Whenever you are there, they will feed you very well and you will become very white and fat. After that, they will chop you and feed you all to the sharks. And then many refugees believed them. A lot of thousands of funny stories. You can come up with 1,001 Night storybook. But anyway, so after a few group went, and then they received back good news. And from that point on, the resettlement program kept rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling. Was particularly the year between 2005 to 2008. So, for instance, Canadian government brought in about, at the time, I believe 4,000 to 5,000 Karen refugees, and the United States government brought in almost 100,000 refugees from Burma, and then plus many other countries. So at the same time, 200,000 refugees were resettling to the third countries in a large scale. So here comes the unique story of this me, of the individual. I married with Jocelyn. Of course, everything is illegal. She was Filipina, and then I was a refugee, stateless husband. And then my family had to go through all the process, first interview, second interview by the UNHCR, and then a Canadian embassy will interview us. Usually the decision was made by the Canadian immigration head in the embassy in Bangkok, Mr. Richard Anderson. Okay, so I can always remember this name. Usually the delegates will come and then we interview and bring back all the files back to the Mr. Anderson in Bangkok. Mr. Anderson will review each family's profile. And he made decision, this family, I will take it. This family will be rejected. This family, I will take it. And then he made the ultimate. And then according to the quota, then this brought back to the camp. Okay, all this family will be going to Canada. And then all the refugees had to go through health screening, this and that before they come. With my case, the only thing, we had to go through the last interview with the Canadian delegates, but the delegate wouldn't come. The big boss, Mr. Richard Anderson himself had a tour in the refugee camp, and UNHCR forced him to interview my family face to face. They said that we only have a few families in the Karenni refugee camp, and particularly with Mie Tha family, they speak English. You don't need the interpreter. Oh, he said, oh, I'm so tired. I need to rest. I need to go back to work in Bangkok. But you would no, you just interviewed them. This is a big family. And then, okay. And half-hearted. And then it was, for me, it's a divine intervention. He decided to interview my family, me, my parents, and then my brother's family, and then their children. And I also forgot to mention that a year after I came back here, I have two younger twin sisters. They came and studied in University of Toronto under the WOOF's World Refugee Studies Scholarship Program. Yeah, and then they had been here during their final year when they heard that Canadian government at the time, Prime Minister Stephen Harper's government was bringing in thousands of Karen refugees, and they advised us, rather than choosing other country, choose Canada. This is the only way for our family to be back together. And because of their advice, we specifically applied to Canada. And here comes the final interview with Mr. Richard Anderson. And after he interviewed our family, he fell in love. He said that, do you know what? So knowing that, oh, your two sisters, they're they're in Toronto. Oh, amazing. Okay, then of course they have family reunification. He accepted all of us at the spot. My parents, my brother, family, myself, and everyone. And the last part was the most scary part. He saw my wedding ring. And all of a sudden, Mie Tha, I saw your wedding ring. Do you have girlfriend? Oh, I just closed my marriage to UNHCR. UNHCR told me that it's a complication of marriage. You will mostly be rejected because of the complication. We cannot help you. I said that it's okay if I'm rejected, as long as my parents and my other siblings are there, I would be happy. Me and my wife, we could continue serving in the camp. The community loved my wife. They love us. We are okay. But because of us, I don't want this to affect the rest of the family. So I'm prepared already. I was so nervous, and I said, sir, I'm married. Where is your wife? It's not in the application. I said, she's not a refugee. And Mr. Richard Anderson was so baffled. So, what is she? I said, she's a Filipina. I had to explain in 5 minutes. I went to study in the Philippines. We fell in love. We came, and she has been living in the camp for 3 years. So even we trying to cope with our separation between me and my wife told me already, do you know what? If you go to Canada, it's a greener pasture for you and my family. I'm very happy. But without my husband in the refugee camp, although I love the camp and I love serving them and people protect me, I cannot live alone in the jungle without my husband. She even bought the ticket already to go back to the Philippines and wait for me. This is the way we try to cope with ourselves. Plus, also, she had polycystic, so she could not get pregnant. Yeah. And then although we wanted to have children, we then already got willing. If we don't have children, then it's fine. We could be sweethearts for the rest of our lives. So this is the way also. But after I talk about my marriage with Richard Anderson, what Richard Anderson said that, so it means that she's Filipina. She's now in Thailand in the refugee camp with you. Does she have passport? Of course she has. So can I talk with her? Sure. So I call my wife, come to the UNHCR office. Mr. Anderson want to talk to you. She came just a few minutes later, and then they conversed briefly. And finally, Richard Anderson said, and I was so nervous from behind, and I was praying. And then Richard Anderson said, do you know, Jocelyn, I'm so happy that your husband's family chose Canada to come. However, since you married to your husband, if your husband goes, you also have to go. The big boy was the one decided that you have passport, right? Go and stand there. I would take your picture. She was taking a picture. Give me your passport. Fill in this form. Very simple. After that, she was given immigrant visa on the spot.
That's amazing.
Non-refugees, right? They just, it's amazing. For us, we had to wait for a few more weeks for us to be given the refugee travel document and given a visa, single entry. But anyway, we were on the fateful day of the March 1st. We left Thailand 2007. We flew from Bangkok to Canada that I was flying literally on the cloud in the plane that I was thinking that I would come alone if I wouldn't be left in Thailand, right? Because of my marital status. My wife was right beside me and we flew together to Canada. We will always cherish May the 2nd, 2007. We landed in Toronto. Upon seeing the CN Tower, when we were brought by the agency here to the welcoming center in College and Lippincott, they had the refugee welcoming center. I saw CN Tower and I pinched myself. Not only I'm with my wife right beside me. We are in Canada. Yeah, the new day of my life, and it will be in my memory forever.
And coming to Toronto, what did you think? Did you see it being a lot different from like back home? Did you walk around? Did you explore?
So, we explored for the first few weeks and days. Me and my wife, we just hold hand. And then we walked to the University of Toronto where you study, right? You graduated from your master's degree. It was so amazing, as if we were in the movie scene of Harry Potter. All the 100-year-old building, and then you see all the houses, many houses in that area of the college, north of college, right? 100 years old. It was breathtaking. And then we just hold hand and walk along Spadina all the way to Lakeshore. Oh my goodness, look at all the glossy skyscrapers and the sudden change of the city and the world. We are as if in the movie scene of Matrix. Streetcar and everything. Oh yeah. And then, for example, also I can also mention about the miracle happened in Canada that when we first came here, also as many refugees and immigrants, we had to go through the comprehensive health screening. And then when they learned that Jocelyn had polycystic, and then my family doctor told me that, you know what, Mita, we understand that Jocelyn is polycystic. Also, it could be also because of you as well, that she cannot get pregnant. I said, yeah, that's right. So do you want to know the result? What is the real score? Yeah, why not? But we talk, my sibling always make fun of me. You cannot get pregnant because you're not a man, or something like that. They always make fun of me. But anyway, it's just a joke. So we wanted to, but we set our heart at the right place already. If we have babies, it's good. If not, then we could be lovers from the rest. Sweetheart, we said that for the rest of our lives. So I went to St. Clair, gave my sperm sample, and 2 weeks later, Dr. Curtis called us back to give us the result. And then when we went to see family physician, Dr. Curtis met Jocelyn first for the first 15 minutes. I was anxious and excited to know the real score. And then when my time came, and then I was about to go and see the doctor, and I met doctor face to face, and Dr. Curtis told me that, Mita, you don't even have to know the results. Congratulations, Jocelyn is pregnant. As if God intentionally opened up her womb a few days after we came to Canada. And as a polycystic woman, she got pregnant. And then to make long story short, and then they gave birth to our babies. And then when the first one came, and the rest just follow one after another, just like a stairway, like Do Re Mi, a huge break, and then 10 years later, Fa, and then the baby girl. So now I have a 16 years old baby boy, Madge, the 14 years old girl, Jam, and then 11 years old boy, Joanny, and then Thain. But I cannot leave the story of the name of my children. Madge, Jam, Joanny, Thain doesn't mean anything. M-E-H-J, Madge, what does it mean? Nothing. Jam, the second girl, J-E-H-M, means nothing. Joanny, J-O-E-H-M-A. Okay, what is Thain? T-H-A-E-H-L-Y-N. Doesn't mean anything until we explain. M-E-H-J, it means that M is my initial Mie Tha, E-H is A, which means love in Korean. J is Jocelyn's initial. So Madge, M-E-H-J, it means Mie Tha loves Jocelyn. And the second girl comes, we just turn out the name around, the other way around, J-E-H-M. Jocelyn loves Mie Tha. When Joanny came, he's a boy. The same pattern, mom loves dad, dad loves mom. We just add up one letter to our name initial. Joanny is J-O is Jocelyn, E-H is A in Korean, and M-I is Mie Tha. Joanny, Jocelyn loves Mie Tha. And when the youngest baby Thain, the unexpected child, actually, the most adorable one came, because of she is a girl, we have to change. Shall we give Miejo? Oh, okay, let's be creative. So we just gave a Thain the same pattern. T-H-E, Ta is my initial. E-H is A, love. L-Y-N is the second word of Jocelyn name, Ling. So Ta Elin, it's my Mie Tha loves Jocelyn. So the name of our children even were totally victimized or romanticized by the love of the parent having for each other. Yeah, I will go back to the previous one. The question was that, of course, there are a lot of the good story to cherish, success story. It would take me 4 hours. At the same time, also come along with the challenges also in a new country, particularly the refugees from these ethnic nationalities background that all their life they had to run to survive. They have never gone to formal schooling. Therefore, I always say that we came to Canada with zero money, zero education, zero international experience, and zero language, technically, zero technician skill. The only thing we came is the value that we have in our heart, the gratitude that we have in our heart, the experience, survivor experience that we have experienced all our life. It doesn't matter when this met with, when we are given the equal dignity, equal opportunity, and also we are given human rights, right? These three given by Canada, and with these three combined in a matter of a few years, all the zeros became a single number and then multiplied drastically, that this is a success story that they have. One of the simple story that I'm going to share here, one of the challenges that when first refugee came, of course, language barrier is the biggest one, and culture differences, and not knowing how to navigate the system or usually challenges. Therefore, also all the spirits that we develop in the refugee camp of helping one another, to those who are in need, also the good thing that we carry with them as a community who are educated and who can lead and help each other. And this is the way we try to nurture and help and educate each other and keep the community intact, even in Canada, and then also be grateful about everything, not only to your own community, to other communities and the system in Canada, and of course the government of Canada and the society of Canada. So yeah, all these kind of things, and then good, and then challenges that one I can emphasize against that no matter where you are, whatever part of the world you are from, you may be immigrants or refugees, educated, non-educated, but we are so grateful for the fact that we are given equal rights, equal dignity, and equal opportunity. And this is all we need. And through the blessing of God and through, of course, good attitude, and the grateful heart, that life would surely propel toward a good direction. And then, of course, now we have been here for almost 2 decades already. We are still deeply rooted to our roots, so that we know also what our people are suffering and undergoing, everyone in Burma in general. So we also, as a Korean community, we form 2 big groups. One is a religious group and one is a kind of social group. So religious group is called KBCC, Korean Baptist Churches of Canada. So now Korean are scattered across Canada. They have about, if I'm not mistaken, 16 to 18 churches in different cities. Like we have Toronto Korean Baptist Church. We have, for example, Vancouver Korean Baptist Church, Thunder Bay Korean Baptist Church. They work under one umbrella of Korean Baptist Churches of Canada. They work together, and then they also keep contact with all the religious organizations back in the refugee camps and even in Burma with the KBC, Korean Baptist Convention in Burma. So from the social and political group also, we formed a group called KCC, Korean Community of Canada. It's an umbrella organization. And then we provide leadership to all the local organizations like Toronto, Korean Community of Toronto, Korean Community of Vancouver, Korean Community of Leamington, so on and so forth. Yeah, so we are also working together as these two groups. So, for example, if something is needed, we do fundraising within the communities in Canada. Then, for example, the Toronto Korean Baptist Churches of Canada will take care of the relief needs and support. And then while we are here, we take care of other technical and social support. Like if they need education and some skills, then we provide them. So if they want to hire this kind of professional to come and train them in the camp, so for them to be empowered and move forward, this kind of thing is going on. Yeah.
Tell me a bit about the issues that Karen people face today in Canada, also in Myanmar as well. I know there's a long history, right, in Burma regarding like the position that Karen people have as a group of people, even though they are themselves a diverse group of people with many distinct cultures and languages. They face oppression in Myanmar for various reasons. And I'm sure many immigrants, they have to come to Canada and they face a lot of issues here. So if you can talk a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Right. And the challenges that we have, it will also be never-ending challenges, even in Canada, ongoing. Also, sometimes also along the way, the pattern was changing. At the beginning, the biggest challenge was how to navigate the systems. Now they are okay with that. They learn, and then, language barrier and generational gap, this kind of thing. Like the parents who stay with their parents with a very conservative view of life, while the children are learning totally different things from school, up to the point that it is so hard for them to maintain their language, right? So this kind of thing, and then also the learning law and regulation here. At the same time, they have to learn about deal with the discrimination here time to time. Yeah, all these things. Yeah, it would be ongoing challenges. It would be never ending. So as a community also, we just have to come together and fill in the gap as needed. And then the good thing in Canada is all the opportunities, the educational opportunity, support opportunity, and like that's the only thing you have to ask that is. And then, yeah. Yeah, and then the other challenges would be also practical challenges for Canada is so huge. And then our communities we have a small numbers of people in every city across Canada. So to collaborate with each other sometimes it's not that easy. So face to face, we only see each other once a year. So we have during the annual conference for both organization, religious and social organization. And most of the time we see each other in social media. And the other practical challenges is also when it comes to collaboration, it could be challenges because we all became Canadian. We all became very much absorbed into Canadian way of life, right? And then while we grew up there in the refugee camp, we developed a strong sense of belongingness and community spirit. Here is all about individualistic spirit. Be a good citizen, work hard, be a good taxpayer, and build a good life for your family and for yourself. Yeah, and then also they are provided with all the opportunity also sometimes to collaborate, working hand in hand. It can be very hard, but they have their own valid reason that we have to pay for our mortgage, we have to pay tax, right? We have to do this, we have to upgrade ourselves, and I have to do this and this and do this and that. And here also the group is saying that, we have the suffering people, our own people who are not heard, who are not known to the international community, need our help. So we have obligation to support. Yeah, this is the main challenge that I see nowadays, that we see that two groups are now, everyone is so busy with their own life, and one want to help out more, one that also they are so struggling with to for them to be well integrated to Canadian society. Yeah, so this is the challenge. And thinking about the challenge of people in current state or even in Burma, of course, that I don't think I can even say specifically that it's an absolute heartbreak. The all-out civil war is going on, and then many lives are there are many young people are giving their lives in this struggle. Human rights violation is going on. The military would take hold of the power to the best as they could. It's heartbreaking. And then unfortunately also the Burmese military now, the Myanmar military, the support that they get from some other countries, also like Russia and China, all this military hardware that they get in oppressing their own people is absolute heartbreak. At the same time, also, they don't want all the ethnic armed struggle, including now we have the Burmese guerrilla movement through PDF, and all these groups work together, right? They find their best to divide and rule, and this is their technique for decades already. Yeah, but we can also, to the bright side, we can see that the first time in history, more than almost 80 years of civil war in this country, which is world's longest civil war, every group, ethnic armed struggle together with the Burmese revolutionists together, they are working with the momentum that the world had never seen before. The heartbreak is even we don't get the international support that much. We have no other choice just to be united and fight against these tyrants. Yeah, to get rid of them. Yeah, so this is going on.
We're recording this podcast in 2024, so that's 3 years since the coup in 2021. I guess to end off, I'll ask the last question. And what is your vision of the future of Burma that you want to see for all communities?
I believe also it's a very powerful and strong question. And then now we can see that Burma is fighting this war against the tyrants, or to get rid of this tyranny, towards building up a truly peaceful and genuine federal state. And the country itself is so diverse. So the theory now, the prediction now comes that will this become a successful federal country, or will this become a failed state? So time will tell. So my vision is, of course, one day I want to see this country to be a beautiful and genuine, peaceful and prosperous federal state like Canada or Australia or the United States that I'm personally enjoying for almost 2 decades already, that everyone has the equal right, opportunity, and everyone is given the equal dignity, right? And children are educated to respect themselves and to respect others ever since they were young. And education is so important. And of course, if we go toward the federal state, then I even pray from now and hope that they might need to change the name of the country, either Myanmar or Burma, because this name only represents the dominion of one majority ethnic group, which is Burmese or Myanmar people. So in this case also, I hope all my Myanmar friends, Burmese friends, they have to have an open mind and clear vision. If you can start with the name change, it would make a huge difference. The name that would represent everyone in the country. Everyone, like for example, Canada is the name come from Canada. They even got this name from the smallest indigenous people, Inuit Canada village. They make it to the name of the great nation. Look at United States or Australia, right? This represent everyone. It doesn't represent not only British or Latin American, the indigenous people, something like that. So we have to think about it from now on. If you can do the name change first, it will eliminate a lot of anxiety and tension, and then a lot of peace building and conflict resolution and the process we have to go through together, and then build a very prosperous and successful federal state of this country in the future. It would be great. Or on the other hand, also, so many ethnic groups are also, they have their own political agenda and also their history of becoming independent. Even like Quebec now, they either become confederation and ask for independence in the future. Even in Pinlone agreement that everyone can go under the Union of Burma after 10 years, then if all the ethnic people want to get their own independent state, then it has to be agreed. This was the agreement from Pinlone before, and it can go this path also. Or every ethnic people, if they want to have their own independent state in the future, also that if they want to form their own independent identity, whether it's good or bad, or it might be fail or success, then I believe also we all need to have an open mind and prepare ourselves and to understand, and even if need be, to support their cause and their desire. So for me, is whether all these ethnic individuals, including the majority Burmese group, want their own independent state in this union, or even they want to form a federal state, for me, it's a win-win situation as long as we are free from the tyrants, right? Military dictatorships that rule this nation for decades already. It's a win-win situation. Then, of course, the decision is not mine. It's for the people. They live there. And if they want independence, for me, I will support them to the best as I can. If they want a genuine federal state, I would support them to the best that I can. To me, the most important thing is everyone deserves to be given equal right, opportunity, and dignity and respect.
Thank you so much for joining us in this podcast. Do you have any last comments for our listeners?
Thank you for your attention. I just hope that also you have learned and then enjoying the experience, the personal experience that I've gone through. It's such a privilege and honor for me to tell my life story, love story, the struggle, the story in revolutionary area, the resettlement story, being illegal in the Philippines, and even in the resettlement story in Canada. It's an honor. And then I also want to encourage that please learn the history, the thing that even people trying to hide the history, that it can never be erased. So if we learn history, and then we will be knowledgeable enough, and then we will also be equipped with the information and truth so that we can extend our understanding. Not only we educate ourselves, we can extend our understanding, sympathy, and empathy towards our other ethnic nationalities, friends, brothers and sisters in the country whom we are going to work together with. And it's such a privilege to talk in this podcast.
So that brings us to the end of the BCAO's first ever Talking Burma podcast. We're so grateful to have Saw Mie Tha Lah joining us in this venture and being so open to share his experiences and his story with us. I'd also like to thank the team at the BCAO and our community for making this podcast happen. If you, the listener, want to listen to more of our work, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify or on your favorite podcast streaming app, and follow us on social media. Check out our website at burmacanadianassociation.ca and consider making a donation. Thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.